Have you ever stood outside a door you were invited to, only to be told you don't belong? Felt the weight of eyes judging you, not for who you are, but for what you seem to be? This is the story of a girl who faced that moment, and what happened when she refused to walk away. Her name is Casey, and what she did next will leave you speechless. Stick around, because this isn't just her story. It's a wake-up call for all of us. Hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, because by the end of this, you want to share this with someone who needs to hear it. Let's dive in. The autumn air was sharp, cutting through Casey's thin jacket as she sat on the edge of a park bench in downtown Atlanta. Her small hands gripped a gift box wrapped in crinkled brown paper, tied with a faded red ribbon. She was 12, but her eyes carried a weight far older: grief, hope, and a quiet defiance, all tangled together. She whispered to herself, so soft the words barely reached the leaves above, "I'm not enough. That's why they wouldn't let me in." Across the street, the garden terrace glowed like a jewel box. Laughter spilled from its open windows, where children in glittering dresses and pressed suits danced under chandeliers. Casey had been invited to her friend Lila's 11th birthday party, a rare chance to step into a world she'd only glimpsed from afar. She'd spent hours ironing her hand-me-down dress, polishing her scuffed sneakers, and choosing the perfect gift: a tiny music box from a thrift shop that played somewhere over the rainbow. But when she reached the door, the doorman's eyes had swept over her, cold and quick, like she was a smudge on the glass. "You're not on the list," he'd said, barely glancing at her invitation. Now, alone on the bench, Casey hugged the box tighter, her breath hitching. She didn't cry. Not yet, but her heart felt like it might crack open. What did I do wrong? She thought. Was it the dress? The shoes? Or just me? A man was standing under a street lamp, unnoticed by Casey. He's in his late 30s, sharp suit, holding a steaming coffee cup. His eyes linger on her, not with pity, but with something deeper: recognition. Elliot Carter wasn't supposed to be here. He'd just left a meeting at a nearby community center, his mind already on the next boardroom, the next deal. But something about the girl stopped him cold. Maybe it was the way her shoulders curled inward, as if she could make herself invisible. Maybe it was the box clutched like a lifeline. Or maybe it was the memory it stirred. A boy years ago, sitting on a crumbling stoop in Chicago, clutching a soggy paper bag, thinking the same thing: "I'm not enough." Elliot took a step closer, then stopped. He didn't want to scare her. Clearing his throat softly, he said, "Mind if I sit?" Casey's head snapped up, eyes wary. She clutched the box tighter, but nodded. He sat, leaving a wide gap between them, and sipped his coffee. The silence stretched, comfortable but heavy, like the city was holding its breath. "Rough day?" he asked, voice low. She shrugged, staring at the ground. "They wouldn't let me into the party." Elliot tilted his head. "Across the street? Lila's birthday?" She nodded, pulling a crumpled invitation from her pocket. "Lila's my friend from art class. She said I could come. Said it didn't matter if my gift wasn't fancy." Elliot took the invitation, reading it carefully. "Looks real to me. Nice handwriting." "It's from Lila," Casey whispered. "The music box, it's for her. It plays somewhere over the rainbow. My grandma used to sing it to me." Elliot's chest tightened. He knew that song, that ache. My mom hummed it while she cooked. Burned half the meals, but that tune was perfect. Casey's lips twitched, not quite a smile. "Mine too. She works nights at the hospital. Sometimes I don't see her till morning, but she always tucks me in." "I'm Elliot," he said, offering a small smile. "Casey," she replied, her voice barely audible. They sat in silence again, the city humming around them. Then Casey spoke, her words sharp with pain. They didn't even read the invitation. They just looked at me, like I was invisible. Casey thought her night was over, that the door was locked for good. But what if this stranger, this moment, was about to change everything? What happens when someone sees you, really sees you, when the world tries to look away? Keep watching, because this is where the story takes a turn you won't see coming. Elliot stood, brushing off his coat. "Come on, Casey. Let's go back." Her eyes widened, fear flashing across her face. "Back? They won't let me in. You saw what happened." "They didn't let you in," he said, voice steady but kind. "But they haven't met me yet. Casey stared, unsure. Who are you? He chuckled, a warm sound that cut through the chill. Just a guy who's been on that bench before. Come on. She hesitated, then took his outstretched hand, her small fingers trembling but firm. As they crossed the street, the terrace loomed larger, its golden light spilling onto the pavement. Casey's heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. What if they laugh? What if they turn me away again? The doorman, standing tall at the entrance, his face stiffening as he sees Casey approaching, then shifting as he notices Elliot. Good evening, Elliot said, his tone calm but commanding. We're here for the Carter birthday party. The doorman's eyes flicked to Casey, then back to Elliot. I'm afraid there was a mix-up earlier. No mix-up, Elliot cut in, not harsh but unyielding. You made a choice. Now we're making one too. He pulled a sleek card from his pocket. Elliot J. Carter, CEO, Carter Ventures. The doorman's face paled. Mr. Carter, I didn't realize. You weren't supposed to, Elliot said. I don't announce myself. I like to see how places treat people when they think no one's watching. He turned to Casey, softening. Ready? She nodded, clutching the gift box. The doorman stepped aside, and the heavy doors swung open. Casey was about to step into a world that had rejected her. But was it ready for her? What happens when a girl who's been told she's not enough walks into a room full of people who think they are? Stay tuned, because this moment is just the beginning. The terrace was a dream Casey couldn't have imagined. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbows across the marble floors. Waiters glided with trays of sparkling drinks. Children in velvet dresses and tailored jackets spun under a banner reading Happy 11th, Lila. But as Casey stepped inside, the room seemed to pause. Eyes turned, some curious, some cold. She felt like a shadow in a spotlight. Elliot leaned down. Just keep walking, Casey. You don't owe anyone here an explanation. They moved through the crowd, whispers trailing them like smoke. Who's she with? Is that Elliot Carter? Why is he here? Casey's grip on the gift box tightened, the paper crinkling under her fingers. Then, a voice cut through the noise. Casey, Lila, the birthday girl, raced across the room, her silver dress shimmering. She threw her arms around Casey, oblivious to the stares. I thought you weren't coming. They said I wasn't on the list, Casey mumbled, eyes down. What? That's ridiculous. Lila turned to a woman in a silk dress nearby, her mother. Mom, I told you Casey was coming. The woman gave a tight smile. Of course, dear. Welcome, Casey. But Casey saw it. The flicker in her eyes, the same judgment she'd felt at the door. She wanted to shrink, to disappear. Instead, she handed Lila the gift. It's for you, she said softly. Lila tore open the paper, revealing the music box. She wound it up, and the soft notes of Somewhere Over the Rainbow filled the air. The room quieted for a moment, the melody cutting through the chatter. Lila's eyes lit up. It's perfect, but not everyone agreed. A girl named Chloe, with sharp eyes and a sharper tongue, sidled up. Where'd you get that dress? She asked, her voice dripping with false sweetness. Casey swallowed. My mom got it for me. Thrift store. Chloe's smile was a blade. Lila shot her a look. It's vintage, Chloe. It's cool. Casey forced a smile, but inside, her heart was sinking. Asterisk, they see me. They all see me, and they don't want me here. Asterisk. Casey was inside, but the real battle was just beginning. Could she hold her ground in a room that didn't want her? Or would one cruel moment unravel everything? And what was Elliot planning in the shadows? Don't move. This next part will break your heart. Casey slipped away from the crowd, finding a quiet hallway with a massive window overlooking the city. Her reflection stared back, small, out of place, the chocolate stain from a spilled dessert still smudged on her sleeve. She wanted to cry, to run, but something held her there. Elliot appeared behind her, his reflection joining hers. You okay? She didn't look at him. I thought being here would feel good, but it doesn't. Not really. He nodded, staring out at the city lights. Being let in isn't the same as being wanted. You're learning that faster than I did. Casey turned to him, eyes searching. Why did you help me? You don't even know me. Elliot's jaw tightened just for a moment. Because I was you. 30 years ago, I stood outside a door, just like that one. No one came for me. I promised myself if I ever got the chance, I'd be the one to open it for someone else. Casey's breath caught. Asterisk, he's not just some rich guy. He's like me. Asterisk. Before she could respond, a man in a crisp suit approached. Mr. Langley, the terrace manager. Mr. Carter, I assure you, the oversight at the door has been addressed. Elliot's voice was ice. What did you see when you looked at her, Langley? The manager faltered. I saw a child not on the list. Try again. Langley's face flushed. Someone who didn't fit our usual guest profile. Elliot's eyes didn't waver. You saw a girl and decided she wasn't worth your time. Write a new guest policy by Monday. Train your staff, because the next kid might not have me behind her. Langley nodded, retreating quickly. Casey stared at Elliot, her voice small. You didn't have to do that. I did, he said. For both of us. Casey was starting to see it. Not just the door opening, but the power of someone believing in her. But what happens when the world pushes back harder? A secret from Elliot's past is about to change everything. Stay with us. This twist will hit you right in the chest. Back at the party, Casey rejoined Lila, who pulled her into a circle of kids decorating cupcakes. For a moment, she laughed, the weight lifting as she smeared blue frosting with Lila. But the whispers didn't stop. A woman in a gold dress murmured to another, "She's with Carter, isn't she? Must be a charity case." Casey heard it. Her smile faltered, but she kept decorating, her hand steady. "I'm here," she thought. "That's enough for now." As the party wound down, Lila hugged her tight. "You made my birthday better," she said. Casey's throat tightened. "You made me feel like I belonged." Outside, under the stars, Elliot walked her to a waiting car. "You did good tonight," he said. "But it's not over. You're just getting started." Casey looked up. "Why me? Why not someone else?" He pulled a worn photo from his wallet. A boy, maybe 10, in a too-big jacket, sitting alone on a curb. "Because I see him in you, and I know what you're capable of." As the car pulled away, Casey noticed a folded envelope tucked into the seat. She opened it, her hands shaking. Inside was a check, enough to cover her school tuition for years, and a note. To Casey Jones, so no door is ever closed for lack of money. Keep walking through. Elliot Carter. Casey thought she was just a girl with a music box. But this moment was about to spark something bigger. A movement, a ripple, a truth that would echo far beyond one night. What happens when a 12-year-old becomes a voice for thousands? You won't believe where this story goes next. Casey now in her apartment, staring at the check, her mother's eyes wide with shock. Casey's mother, Nora, read the note aloud, her voice trembling. "A college starter fund. Casey, this is..." Casey shook her head. "Why would he do this?" Nora's eyes softened. "Because he sees what I've always seen. You're a fighter, baby. Always have been." The next day at school, whispers followed Casey like a breeze. She went to Lila's party with a billionaire. "Did you see her dress?" He gave her a ride home. Casey ignored them, but the attention felt like a spotlight she hadn't asked for. Her teacher, Ms. Harper, pulled her aside. "I heard about the party," she said. "You're braver than most adults I know." Casey shrugged. "I just want to give Lila her gift." Ms. Harper smiled. "And you gave her something else, proof that courage doesn't need a price tag." That night, Casey opened her notebook and wrote, "Places I'll go someday. 1. A stage where I tell my own story. 2. A classroom where no one feels invisible. 3. A city where doors don't lock out kids like me." She paused, then added 4. Everywhere. Casey was finding her voice, but the world wasn't done testing her. A new opportunity was coming, one that could change her life forever. But would she be ready? Don't go anywhere. This next part will give you chills. A month later, a letter arrived from Elliot. Asterisk, I'm hosting a gathering at the Harmony Center, a place for people who want to build a better world. I'd like you to speak, Casey. No velvet ropes, no lists, just your voice. Will you come? Casey's heart raced. Speak? In front of strangers? She showed the letter to Nora, who nodded. You don't have to do it. But if you do, you're not just speaking for you. You're speaking for every kid who's ever been turned away. Casey took the bus to the Harmony Center, her notebook clutched tight. The room was simple, Wooden floors, folding chairs, a mix of people in jeans and suits, all waiting. Elliot greeted her with a nod. No pressure. Just say what's true. Where her turn came, Casey stood, her voice shaking but clear. My name is Casey Jones. I'm 12. A month ago, someone told me I didn't belong. Not with words, but with a closed door. But someone else opened it. And now I'm here to say, I'm not asking for your permission to exist. I'm already here. The room was silent, then erupted in nods, murmurs, a quiet respect that felt like a hug. A woman in a green scarf approached afterward. I run a youth poetry group. Will you join us? Casey blinked. You think I'm a poet? I think you're a voice, the woman said. Casey's words were starting to ripple, but ripples can become waves, and waves can crash. A new challenge was coming, one that would test her courage like never before. What happens when the world hears her, and not everyone likes what she has to say? Keep watching. The Harmony Center speech caught fire online. Clips of Casey's words spread across social media, shared by teachers, activists, even strangers. I'm not asking for your permission to exist. The phrase became a hashtag, a rallying cry. But with visibility came scrutiny. At school, a girl named Tessa cornered her in the hallway. You think you're special now, huh? My dad says you're just playing the victim to get attention. Casey's fists clenched. I didn't ask for attention. I just told the truth. Tessa smirked. Truth? You're making everything about being poor. It's annoying. Casey walked away, but the words stung. That night, she told Nora, who pulled out an old photo album. This is your great-aunt, marching in Selma. She didn't fit either, but she stood anyway. The next week, a call came from the Atlanta Youth Summit. They wanted Casey to speak at their citywide event, broadcast live on local TV. Live, her stomach churned. Asterisk, what if I freeze? What if they hate me? She practiced for weeks, rewriting her speech until the pages were worn thin. The night of the event, she stood backstage, her new dress, bought with Nora's overtime pay, feeling both foreign and right. Elliot was there, his presence steady. You're not alone out there, he said. Casey stepped onto the stage, the lights blinding, the crowd a blur. My name is Casey Jones, she began. I'm 12. I live in a world where doors get slammed in your face, not because of who you are, but because of what people think you're not. But I'm here to tell you, every closed door is a chance to knock louder. The applause was thunderous. Backstage, Nora hugged her so tight Casey could barely breathe. You didn't just speak, she said. You built something. Days later, a letter arrived. No return address, just Casey's name in shaky handwriting. Inside was a note. I'm 15. I saw your speech. I've been afraid to tell anyone I'm trans because I thought no one would listen. You made me think maybe they will. Thank you. Casey's eyes filled with tears. She taped the letter into her notebook under a new page titled Echoes. Casey was no longer just a girl with a story. She was a spark, igniting others to speak. But the brighter you shine, the bigger the shadows. A final test was coming, one that would change her forever. Don't miss this. Inspired by the letters, Casey started the Echo Room at her school, a corner of the library where anyone could leave their story. Notes poured in. I'm scared my dad won't come back from prison. I don't speak English well, and kids laugh. I want to be an artist, but everyone says it's a waste. Casey responded to each, her pen a lifeline. You're not alone. Keep dreaming. I see you. A local reporter wrote about the Echo Room, calling it a quiet revolution led by a 12-year-old. Schools across Atlanta started their own. Casey's name became a whisper of hope, but also a target. Online, trolls called her entitled the kid playing activist. At school, Tessa's taunts grew sharper. Then came a call from Elliot. The National Inclusion Conference in D.C. wants us to speak together. You in? Casey's heart raced. D.C.? A national stage? She looked at Nora, who nodded. You got this, baby. The D.C. conference hall was massive, filled with lawmakers, educators, and activists. Casey's speech was the closing address. Backstage, her hands shook, but Elliot's steady voice grounded her. They're not ready for you, Casey. That's why you're here. She stepped into the lights, her voice small but fierce. My name is Casey Jones. I'm 12. I've stood outside doors that wouldn't open. Not because I wasn't invited, but because I didn't look like I belonged. But every time a door closes, I knock again. And I'm not alone. There are thousands of us, kids, parents, people you pass on the street, waiting to be heard. Don't save us. Listen to us. We're building our own tables, and there's room for everyone. The room erupted, a standing ovation that shook the walls. Casey didn't smile. She stood taller, her eyes blazing with purpose. Asterisk voiceover asterisk. Casey wasn't just a girl anymore. She was a movement. But the story doesn't end here. One final moment will leave you in tears. A year later, Casey stood across from the garden terrace, the place that had once turned her away. The sign had changed, the doorman replaced. She held her notebook, now thick with letters, poems, and dreams. Nora stood beside her. You going in? Casey shook her head. I don't need to. I built my own doors. Somewhere, another kid was writing in a notebook, inspired by Casey's story. Somewhere, a door was cracking open. And Casey Jones, once invisible, was now undeniable. Casey's story isn't just hers, it's yours. It's for every time you felt unseen, unheard, or unwanted. You don't need permission to be who you are. So what's your door? What truth are you ready to speak? Drop in the comments below. We're reading every single one. Hit that like button if Casey's courage inspired you, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Together, we can keep the echoes growing. Subscribe, and let's keep opening doors.